All right, my friends, Starfield is out, and oh boy, are the reception really mixed? It's so mixed out there. You wouldn't even think about it. Like, how can that happen on the internet? So I'll tell you exactly. Well, not exactly. We'll try to decipher why is this happening. I think I humbly think that it's one part hype and one part nostalgia. So a lot of people were thinking from the direct or from the first release, the video that they sent out, that this was going to be more of a space sim, a flight simulator, something more akin to No Man's Sky, Rebel Galaxy, Rogue Squadron, Elite Dangerous even maybe. The hype was all wrong. They should have focused on a lot of different things. They did not focus on the story, which I think they should have focused on. I think that should have been more the focus in telling people like, hey, this is the important thing you need to do. And I think that the improved mechanics should have been what they also put forth so that people know it's a Bethesda game and it still, has those mechanics, but we just polished it out and now it's more improved. And leave some things as a surprise, right? Leave the kind of like exploration, maybe explain that a little bit, because this is where they're getting the most criticism. So a lot of people will tell you that, well, it's not a flying game. You have a ship, and you're not really flying it from one place to another. It's kind of boring what you're doing. It's not that No Man's Sky. You can't really take off from a planet. You can't land wherever you want. You can't walk as much as you want. In No Man's Sky, there's things that you can do that are so amazing. Like you can any planet, you can start digging a hole in the middle of the planet, and here you go. And then you're like down and you can go up, and all these things that you can do, go into your ship and fly the whole surface of the planet. You can go like 360 or whatever you want to call it. You can go around the whole thing is what I'm trying to say, and this is not what this game is. The hype was all wrong when it comes to that. I think that by explaining it a little bit more, it would have worked. They did that, but I think that they did that after the after the direct. I know there was a lot of interviews and a lot of things were cleared out. Todd Howard did say that no, it's not No Man's Sky. You won't be able to do this. You won't be able to do that. But if you watch your first video that he pulled out, right, where the guy has its scanner and the person, sorry, has their scanner and they have that lining laser and they're like going through and there's little like critters or alien creatures and everyone's like scanning this and scanning that, and you see this and you thinking, oh, No Man's Sky, and which is a big mistake. This game is not those games. It's not Rebel Galaxy. It's not Rogue Squadron. It's really more Mass Effect. It's Skyrim in space. It's Fallout in space. That's what it is. It's an RPG set in space. And I say that so that people do understand that the exploration is more minimal. It's what you would expect from a game like that, right? When you were playing Mass Effect, you drop down on the planet, you had like a few points of interest, you go there, you might find a base, you might find more information, you might find someone that has another mission that sends you to another planet, or like, the main city or whatever the case may be, but you're not spending your time like discovering this huge place and whatnot. It is very much what you've seen before from them, although it is improved. And I think that's what they should have focused on. Instead, they showed you all these mechanics, and the story is something that a lot of people don't know about. We can't talk about it. I'm not going to spoil it. But if they would have focused on that, then as a player, you would have known that, oh, maybe my focus should be on doing this. But I guess there's a way that they have to do it, right? They should have done it more, a little bit more like Mass Effect. Like, I don't want to draw comparison all the time, but, Mass Effect had a way to kind of like push the main story, but also had a way of like, it's a different game. You could do all the side quests and main quests in this game and finish it 100%, no problem, within a reasonable time. This is not something that you can do with Starfield. So for that, I do say that Mass Effect is more like a blockbuster movie, like a great 2.5 hour movie, which is, all movies are too long now, but 2.5 movie or 2 hours, whatever. And Skyrim is like that big book series, right? It's a book. It has a prologue. It has, the first maybe chapter is just setting the environment so you can have that idea, that scenery around, and like, setting the characters and blah 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 and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with books. A lot of them are page turners, but the thing is that they have a slower pace, and I think that's what those games have. Fallout 3 was like that. You were basically stuck until you get out, so you couldn't do anything. Like, the game really opened up to you, literally and figuratively, after a couple of hours. Fallout 4, I didn't like the beginning of that game at all. Skyrim was on rails, chained in prison, whatever, in the back of like some kind of wagon. Um, so maybe they don't have the best track record when it comes to really drawing you in to the main quest. A lot of people can, if you remember playing these games, you do remember that, like, yeah, fighting my dad was not as important as I thought, or fighting my kid. Like, it took me a long while before I found my kid. I think this game doesn't want to be like that. This game definitely wants you to follow the main story, even though it's telling you that you can do everything that you want to do. Maybe those are for second playthroughs, but there should have been something, a little bit more emphasis on, this is the main story. This is like a bunch of missions that you might want to stick to for a while. And I said it in one of my videos, I think that at one point, like, that constellation quest splits, and then you can really like choose whatever you want to do at that point. But I would say, yeah, do a couple of quests. Yeah, of course, you're going to get your feet wet. You're going to do a couple of side quests. You're going to do a couple of fetchy things. And when you go back to the main mission, just keep that in mind. That's all I have to say when it comes to that. And that's why the game is not perfect. They, I think, fumbled on that. They also fumbled when it comes to, those planets. A lot of times there's not a lot, although I was not expecting to do that. I'm sticking to the big cities. I'm sticking to where people are. I'm sticking to like population. I want to make money, talk to people, whatever, spend my time gathering resources. I love games when you can fly around in your ship. And I named all these games that I play and that I love, by the way. But I knew this game was not going to be that. There's just no way that you can have that amount of dialogue, that amount of quests, that amount of this, that amount of that. On top of that, have all these things. And when it comes to the gameplay, I don't think that was something that was on the forefront. I think it's more like a feature. It's like when you have an open world game, you can go to a bar and play some like little games there. You can play pool there. Like, if someone thinks that this is like Pool Simulator the game, it's not Pool Simulator the game. It's just a pool table mini game in a bar somewhere in this big map. Someone did that and they were like, hey, here's a little something. If you want to get immersed in the world, we have that and it works. And I think that's where the big misunderstanding comes from. It's like if you have a car game, like a racing game, but in that racing game lets you buy a house, and in that house you can view your cars. That's like an extra feature. Like, it's not The Sims. You're not going to be making a house. You're not going to be walking around that house. You're not going to be like, it's just not what it is. And I think that people know that about certain titles, but when it comes to that title, people really thought like, man, it's going to burst through the ceiling. You're going to be able to do everything. This is space, the Sim simulation. This is Star Citizen. No, it is not. It's not that at all. So yeah, I don't think that message was clear enough. And then the second thing is, like, a lot of people played their previous games, so they'll compare it to Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, Oblivion. You've heard me done that a couple of times, Mass Effect, Baldur's Gate, all of that. In retrospect, Fallout 3 has some really, really big moments and had a lot of personality. Skyrim was a little bit different. Oblivion has a very, like, a theme that has a vibe to it. I think this game takes a while to actually set that vibe. I think it's a little, like, it's very, I wouldn't say realistic, but they try to be as grounded as possible, and that makes the characters, the dialogue, all of that a little bit less extreme, less, I'll be honest with you, it's less funny. You do meet some people at some point, it gets out there, but at first it's very much presented almost like straight faced, like this is what it is. That might be an issue. I just played The Outer Worlds, and that's bursting with personality and color, and the theme is very clear there. And I think Starfield, it takes a while for you to notice like what exactly is going on. And I'm not saying that they're geniuses. I'm just saying that it's subtle. It's not overt. I think what this game is trying to do at this time right now should be commended. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I actually think it's an amazing game. It's not perfect. It is not a masterpiece at all, but I do think for me, it's the perfect game for a guy like me. I don't mind if there's less space travel, because knowing the amount of quests that I have to do, I don't want to spend, like total like 60 hours. I played like 100 hours with 60 of those or 40 of those was just me flying from one point to another. I enjoy the fact that I can fast travel to any place that I've been before. I love discovering places on foot, and that's what I do at the beginning. But after a while, it's like I just want to get there, finish the quest, and do that. So you have the option to do like You know, you can walk if you want, or you can just fast travel. I would say fast travel, save yourself some time. But I can understand the disappointment, because if you thought you were getting all these things, you find yourself like you were robbed. It feels like another, like, you know, cyberpunk situation where, well, they showed this in the trailer and this and this, and you can't do that. That is not the case. It's just that they showed you stuff, a lot of it, and it ends up being a little bit of it in a game. And what they show a little bit of ended up being like a lot of it, which, go figure, bro. That, I think, was the biggest problem when it comes to that. But I do want you to join the discussion. Leave a comment down below. If you like this video, click on like. A subscription will be nice. Every one of them do count, and I really mean that. But I cannot hold you back from taking the skies. Pilot, go out there and do your thing.